Okay, let's give this a try. So to be controversial, said that 2023 felt like the most bizarre year for dance music in a long time. Obviously, the infamously random club charts have just been completely obliterated, and random stuff has always found its way into these charts regardless. But this year in particular, it really felt like TikTok absolutely rose to power as the easiest way for complete unknowns to suddenly gain massive popularity. For better, but let's be real, much more often for worse. Seriously, half the upcoming songs are goddamn TikTok crossovers. And what's shocking is that this year was actually pretty strong in a general sense, but if you compare this list of songs with my least favourites of any other year, I would absolutely not blame you if you thought that 2023 was the worst year for the charts yet. The lows are obvious and very, very easy to criticise. And what metrics do you use to classify dance hits, says you, presumably shouting at your device? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I will not be quite sticking to the Billboard year-end for this list. Instead, using Ben, aka Ceremon's ranking of every charting song to find songs that were definitely relevant, but either peaked too low or fell off too quickly to make the year-end, cutting off at around the 150 range. This choice was partly because of the big number of old songs that crossed over from 2022, alongside the prolonged effect of Rihanna's Super Bowl performance, but also because there were some really bizarre songs that most people in my specific community were well aware of that would be much more interesting to discuss than something simply mediocre that may have been more popular among the US public. And let's be real, I don't want to spend my time justifying why Choose Your Fighter by Ava Max, which I hardly even dislike, counts as an honourable mention when I could easily discuss some genuinely bad songs instead. For example...
Oh my goodness. What you gonna do with all that junk inside your trunk? I'ma get.
Okay, so a bit of an issue with making a worst list is deciding how to start it out. Firstly, you can make a generic statement about starting a worst list, but then you have to get to the songs and really consider what will make a good opener to this sort of thing. And I get the feeling that I will get very few fans by starting out like this, but nothing can change the fact that this song was a terrible disappointment, on all fronts.
You look like fun to me. You look a little like somebody I know, and I can tell you how this ends.
Yes, it sure does feel nice to have probably my spiciest take up first, but regardless, something about this just sounds so wrong. I'll probably get zero backlash for saying that Kylie Minogue has been dance pop royalty for like 20 years at this point, so to have the lead single from her first album since 2021's Disco be something this slapdash? Is that the polite way to put it? Just not a good sign. It's not like she's had a fully perfect discography. She did make a dubstep song called Sexercise in 2014. But you know, she's generally been pretty current, often really good even. Into the Blue and Real Groove were both solid 8 out of 10, so to see her blunder this badly is really disappointing. Either way, now that we've established why this shouldn't be bad, now to specify why it is bad and, listen to it.
I hear it and I know. I know you wanna take me home. And get to know me close. When your heart goes. I hear it and I know.
Even excusing making this sort of desaturated slap house in 2023 when it surpassed the tier of Easy Target in mid-2021 at the latest, something about how minor key this beat is really off-putting. A club song about, to quote one of her own songs, Less Sex, shouldn't sound this sinister? What about this ominous progression, swampy, goopy bass sound, especially Kylie's own vocals, which are filtered to almost inhuman oblivion?
Wanna see what's underneath that t-shirt.
Screams, some pride anthem? Or hell, even Good Night Out? It all hits this extremely unsettling note, particularly in this second chorus where it just, oh my god. It sounds like the soundtrack to a party where everyone's being held at gunpoint. Like the producers heard the name of the album and mistook it for an indication to make the most stressful beat of all time. And it was her biggest hit in many years. Since 2011, in fact. What's worse is that the album didn't even sound like this. This was her biggest hit in decades, and the accompanying album sounded nothing like it. I mean, thank God for that, obviously. Wow.
with this beat. I don't think I'm ever gonna rest in peace. I'ma kill a dream, leave the rest in pieces. Everybody with my what's up, please.
And speaking of both good artists and major fall-offs, this was quite sad. Yeah, Millennium did not have a good year chart-wise, or even by his standards quality-wise. Maybe that album did have a few good tracks on it, but nothing could hide the fact that the overall reception seemed extremely tepid, with each single feeling more like a retread than the last, and the self-titled album, already a warning sign, feeling like a disjointed mishmash of watered down, Ascend, and Fallen Embers rejects, mixed with some admittedly kind of admirable attempts to evolve. Still, that didn't stop everyone from immediately seeing this song here as a desperate attempt to recreate Good Things Fall Apart for like the fourth time. And this is by far the most blatant yet, collaborating with a singer who also specializes in quirky indie pop, from more traditional pop rock card about relationships and all that. And yet, somehow he got it all wrong, because Good Things Fall Apart is absolute definitive crybanger, whilst Worst Day sounds like what would happen if you systematically stripped it of all emotion. All noise, yet just zero feeling. Nothing feels raw or personal. It's not overtly bad for sure, but it just has this sickly corporate feel to it. Like Millennium had to remake his biggest song but for a Kmart commercial. And I think I know why.
Did I say something wrong? Did you hear what I was thinking? Did I talk way too long when I told you all my feelings that
Good Things Fall Apart is about John Bellion after a breakup. However, he doesn't fully understand why it happened, so he channels into his emotion into an absolute monster of a chorus, who both wants to know what he did wrong in the relationship and apologizes for doing so. It's both relatable and cathartic to a lot of people, and Millennium makes sure to back it up with an absolute explosion of sound and multi-track that only emphasizes that power. Meanwhile, Worst Day kinda seems like it's heading towards the same place, but then nothing happens. It could have been the worst day of Max's life, sure, but I guess that fate just came in at the right time to intervene. We never know what happened, why it was happening, even how the issue was resolved. So the entire chorus is basically a massive Deus Ex Machina, and ending at the part where we should at the very least be waiting until the end to hear. I know that, I'm ragging on the storytelling of a song that lasts less than 3 minutes, but I feel like I really need to quantify just why this song managed to be such an emotional dead weight. Aims for so much, I think, but somehow achieves none of it. And you know what, speaking of mediocre Good Things Fall Apart rejects, say what you're about Heavenly Side, but that song has actual stakes. And a vocalist who actually sounds vulnerable and can emote. You're probably listening to me wondering why I'm going so hard on this mediocre sounding song. But in a year where desperation symbolizes the absolute worst of non-TikTok bait EDM, a ripoff that is this blatant and this much of a downgrade from the original had to be given a strong mention. Oh, and since we're speaking of desperation,
See you again, I'll make a phone call and talk to anyone who picks up. When I see you again, I'll be on guard.
here's part 2. Unexpected as well, as I'm sure all bad surprises are. And since we were speaking about artists with really shitty years, here's the Chainsmokers. They had a couple of decent songs this year, but somehow this collab with Millennium managed to be one of their worst. Unlike Worst Day, there are actually a couple of decent lines. Whoever Carly Hansen is, she sounds alright, but my god, this production. It tries to sound atmospheric and emotional, but the bass just swamps everything out, and it all tries to build to this attempt at an emotional drop that just sounds hollow. Shame that this could work. There's a remix by Sunset City that makes it a solid 7.5 out of 10. But everything about this production sounds cheap and works against any attempt at emotion. Like several songs on this list, it only barely qualifies as a hit. It managed to debut in the top 20 due to artist momentum and only lasted just over a month on the chart. But I feel like Chainsmokers really wanted this to be a hit. This song, this boring, sloppily produced, emotional, dead weight of a song. I don't even like Takeaway that much, but this is absolutely not the right way to make it happen again. And in the end, that's why I put this and Worst Day on the list. Both from artists who saw their popularity fading and desperately tried to remake older, better songs, but a whole lot worse. And then that didn't even work. Drew and Alex, I can't expect better from you in 2024, but Millennium? I still have faith in you. Hopefully, you don't do something stupid and come up with Excision and Woolly for a generic melodub remix of a classic song. Well, I guess it looks like there is no hope for Millennium, but I appreciate his immediacy in specifying that for me. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, I'm sure we can talk about far more relevant artists. Do you want me to explain? Okay then, so the Chainsmokers did a thing in April 2023. It was really bad. Like, really, really bad. Somehow this isn't even within the bottom 5 most unbearable vocal performances of the year. Also, Summertime Friends is the worst Chainsmokers album, don't at me.
I'm demonstrating my love, my love, my love, my love. You love my lady lumps, my hump, my hump, my hump, my hump, they got you.
So, remember when we all assumed that this was just gonna be a fluke? Yes, this was a hit. A steeple hit. It lasted for 20 weeks. It was completely organic. It's only 1 minute long, and it sounds like this. So, I guess while we're here, I could provide a bit of context as to what this thing is. But look at that, we've only got a few seconds left. Hopefully this speaks for itself. No. So let's get the obvious out of the way. This sounds like total garbage. It honestly sounds like it could have been thrown together in 30 minutes. Like will.i.am opened up GarageBand, used approximately 3 of the worst presets he could find, and threw them all together with no regard for quality whatsoever. It might be his laziest production job to date, which is a massive achievement considering that Check It Out exists. It's not a clusterfuck, but that's only because there's so little going on. Then there's Britney Spears. Ooh, is there Britney Spears?
Uptown, downtown, everywhere, turn around, Hollywood.
Obviously, she's not the main point of blame here. It's not her fault that will.i.am dug up a random old demo that might not even be her and put it over the crappiest house beat to hit the big time, but if this is her? Wow, a real person's never sounded more AI-generated in our lifetime.
There she go, there she go, there she go, there she go, there she go.
Out of all celebrities, none have earned a fuck the press and leave me alone song more than Britney Spears. But she's never sounded more passionless, which I guess could be the point, but when combined with will.i.am's free AI music generator core production, it ends up sounding much more like sheer laziness. Maybe it's subversive, maybe it's satire, maybe I just don't care, because it just sounds really bad. And let's be real, Britney deserves a lot better than a comeback this scraped together and clearly rushed out. And perhaps, in a cruel twist of fate, the public did choose to, leaving the song to have a nearly unheard of fallout of the top 10. So, I guess you know about it when it gets thoroughly outsold by, I don't know, Café con Leche by Pitbull. And this is all the time I'm prepared to give the song, so screw you, will.i.am. Also, please don't work with Britney Spears again, because seriously, you two bring out the worst in each other for some reason.
Now, you see me up in the sky.
Good riddance. So, remember when I said that Up and Down wasn't even close to having one of the worst vocal performances of the year? Well, actually, this probably wouldn't be number 1, but it was a very, very close race. So for those of you who don't know what this is and are confused by the dirty, rotting laundry of 2009 MySpace has washed up in this video, This is Six Airly Human, who, according to famousbirthdays.com, is a DJ and melodic emo, scene-inspired artist who makes dance, pop, and club music. I guess so. They initially broke through with Hands Up, a complete audio train wreck that was two of your least favourite songs of 2010 that was inexplicably stable for the entire year, before collaborating with fellow TikTok creator of auditory torture Odari for another song that you'll probably be hearing very soon. So why am I talking about this then? I mean, how could I not? Firstly, it needs to be said, do we really need a 2000s scene core revival? Of course, I know that everything has nostalgic value to someone, but could we just leave this one behind? I know that as a FNAF preteen I can't really speak, but this entire aesthetic was designed to age as hideously badly as possible, and from everything to my perspective, it has. Obviously not going to discuss Darby Vanity as a person, because frankly I want to save problematic stuff for my number one spot, but I mean, take a listen to this random Blood on the Dance Floor song I found, and tell me that it doesn't make you feel violated. Are you traumatized now? Because I sure am. But bringing back to the point at hand, I should probably say that all of this problematic stuff was associated with the aesthetic. From what I can see, none of the artists involved are directly problematic. Yet. Still, this entire song is just nails on a chalkboard for me, with roughly 35% of the annoyance coming from that ridiculously compressed beat, 20% being Six Airly Human themselves, and the final 45% goes to horror movies, who might have the most unsettling voice on a charting song this year. I don't feel like I need to explain why this song is bad, but then again 66 million people obviously disagree with me. I cannot see why anyone would choose to subject themselves to this. It's bad, it's really bad, awful. I absolutely hate it, and it's only number 5. We've got a long road ahead, trust me, it only gets worse from here.
I get stacks of cash, you get cashews. I go hard.
Cause of my hump, 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 my lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
So, oddly enough, something that we have managed to avoid up until this point has been scummy business practices. Even with Mind Your Business and all the questions surrounding its release, I at least believe that Britney maybe kind of possibly signed off on it in all its possibly human-made non-glory. What I cannot defend, however, is a major label basically stealing an unofficial remix purely out of spite, and then using that additional power to desperately try to hide the original artist's work. I cannot defend this.
Don't remind me of minding my own damn business.
On a contextual level, at least. But I do have to admit that on a song level, I actually kind of get it. Obviously, it's a remix of Oliver Tree's Jerk, and pretty much any remix of an Oliver Tree song will be held by the fact that Oliver Tree is on it, and Oliver Tree is an awful vocalist even when he isn't pitched up to sound like a demented chipmunk. And whilst plenty of songs, okay, maybe just one, have made excellent use of demented, irritating vocals, Southstar at least had the decency to re-record them and mix them behind the beat so it ends up just fading into the background. On Schultz's version, however, everything is shoved right to the front of the mix, meaning that the Oliver Tree of it all just seeps into every fibre of its body. And that also means you notice the lyrics, which are
Don't fret, I don't ever wanna see you and I never wanna meet you again.
incredibly bitter and toxic, which seems to be a recurring theme in Oliver's work, and any dance song where the mood is toxic pissiness is immediately unenjoyable because of it. So basically, not only did Oliver Tree, Robin Schultz, and the label blatantly steal a conceptually solid remix, but they emphasized its biggest compositional flaws which override any of the strengths, that being the beat, which is kind of good. So now imagine what a funk version would sound like. Isn't this chorus just one of the ugliest sounds you've ever heard? All the bitterness, that trademark sour mood of the original song, they're shamelessly pressed onto a beat that has no regard for key. Call it dissonant, sure, but every single note clashes with this beat, never resolving into anything coherent or pleasant. And what's worse is that these vocals aren't even copied over from either version of Miss You. Twisted specifically pitched and multi-tracked these vocals to fit this instrumental. Even if it isn't off-key, Oliver Tree's pitched up whining is such an intensely unappealing sound that I viscerally feel the need to pop a Panadol whenever this chorus hits. Also, I'm just gonna make it clear that this beat isn't very good either. Obviously it's not the main issue here, but isn't the appeal of funk that it sounds dark and, distorted and bassy? Whilst it's not a style for everyone, the best funk hits have this very nocturnal vibe to them, which means they go stupid hard at the best of times. But even if you listen to the instrumental without Oliver and the Chipmunks screaming in your ear, it's just too slow to have that sort of pulsating energy, not helped by that signature distortion just not being there. Usually this wouldn't be a complaint, but production here is far too sterile for the mood this is going for. So once again it puts the vocals right at the front of the mix, exactly where they should never, ever, ever be. Maybe not the worst hit of the year, but certainly one of the least pleasant. Moving on. The biggest new dance artist of 2023, everyone. Somewhere in the deepest, darkest depths of TikTok, a terrible mutation occurred which allowed for an early 20-something who goes by the name Odari to become one of the biggest hit dance artists of 2023, with 6 songs somehow making the year-end list. Sure, some are worse than others, but I feel like for the good of everyone I'll put them on this list because trauma needs to be faced at some point. Wait, I actually like this one. Nothing to see here, just a blank space. So for those of you who don't know who Odari is, this serves a pretty solid introduction. Basically, he makes TikTok bait Jersey club music, and look, there's a tempo change at the end. That's pretty original, I'm sure that won't get repetitive at all. He loves drugs and hoes. Lots and lots of hoes. Speaking of... If You're Too Slow is a great definer of Odari's style, then this is easily his magnum opus. His running up that hill, his how to disappear completely, if you will. Oh, I just felt like I was committing a sin by just suggesting that. Also, another slow down bit at the end. That's still cool, right? Kind of. Either way, here's the top 10 worst lines in this fucking song.
I had to change my number cause that bitch kept blowing up my phone. You tryna be my main, just focus on being my favorite. That's the best friendship bisexual. I like seeing them girls on girls. I break it back in niggas' world. I just like my body, how I like however that I can't fuck with no bitch who says she got baby daddies. No, bitches don't lie to me about where you going, girl, I'll stock your home.
Overall, I give it 2.5 thoughts out of 10. Slightly better than the Thought Smokers, but obviously not quite as good as Kylie thought Ogue.
Got me fucked up. Got me fucked up. Got me fucked up. Got me fucked up.
Oh look, it's 6 Ellie Human again. Short time no see. This almost sounds like it's trying to interpolate sexy back. I have nothing else to say. Listen to it. Also, another slow down bit at the end. Okay, we get it. You need to pad out your songs, but just be a little less egregious, please. Huh. This song wishes it could have a line as iconic as trying to be my main, just focus on being my favorite hoe. Like any other Odari song, but with all the interesting bits removed, which is possibly the second worst thing Odari can be. Saved by Cade Clare. So whilst Odari was a pretty egregious presence on the charts, it didn't help that by far his biggest hit was also by far his worst. Obviously this wasn't the least pleasant listening experience I had this year because my bottom two are just around the corner, but this song does everything it can to sound threatening. And yeah, I guess it succeeds because I immediately gain the urge to run away whenever I hear it. Whoever Odari's hoe is, I implore you to get as far away from him as possible. Because if someone you know made this beat, you are immediately at risk. At least that's the vibe I get from this. Oddly enough, the worst one of Odari's hit songs isn't 100% due to Odari himself. This beat was made by fellow TikTok producer 9 Lives, so other songs at least aren't quite as egregiously off-putting. But seriously, just listen to this and tell me that Odari's vocals over this beat doesn't make your skin crawl. It's slimy, gross, unsettling, and I think there was a time when this could have charted on the Hot 100. Yikes.
Yup. Here we go, satellite radio, y'all getting hit with the boom, boom.
So this is Hands Up, a complete audio train wreck that ruins two of your least favourite hit songs of the 2010s that was inexplicably stable for the entire year. I'm sure you might be expecting me to speak about the interpolation of David Guetta and Akon's Sexy Bitch. I won't be doing that because that is frankly the least of this song's problems. Remember Hey Baby, parentheses Drop It to the Floor by Pitbull and T-Pain?
Hey baby girl, what you doing tonight? I wanna see what you got in store.
Yeah, potential spoiler alert, but if I end up doing these sorts of videos for early years of the 2010s, expect this song to place pretty dang high on a 2010 list. It has that same kind of tense edge as Padam, except now we've got some red one at home club room production pounding away your eardrums that manages to suck the energy out of both Pitbull and T-Pain. So of course it only makes sense that in that same overcompressed singcore revival. Just take everything I said about XOXO kisses, hugs and apply it here. Just an ugly, ugly sounding song. Nothing more to it. Although, if it wasn't for my number one, this would be the worst 5 seconds of the year. No questions asked. Imagine peaking with an Odari collaboration. Sad, sad times. Let's move on.
Bumpin', this beat go boom, boom.
Let the beat rock.
This one honestly isn't that bad. The production's actually quite nice in the verses, the build-up's very atmospheric. But then this chorus hits.
Oh my god, touch me right there. Almost there, touch me right there. Don't be shy.
Yeah, no.
Ah yeah, check it out, this is it. Bet you won't, bet you will. Now forget it, cause it don't get better.
Don't believe the title, it tells you nothing but lies. The most underproduced funk hit of the year, tediously slow but not punchy or atmospheric enough to make it work. The only notable thing about this song is how little people remember it. Seriously, this and Jungkook's 7 is possibly the most obvious mashup in existence, and yet seemingly no one cared enough to make one. So I'll take on the responsibility, I guess.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I've been trying to give it to you all night. What's it gonna take to get you all alone?
Too boring to hold any long-standing grudges towards. Plus, if it's not a dance song, it shouldn't really count for this list.
Get into the groove, you know just what to do. Boy, get down on your knees, cause I am Madonna.
Oh yeah, remember when this happened? Whilst it's too distinctive and ridiculous in its try-hard camp to hate, I have to mention it because Madonna manages to give by far the most humiliating performance of her entire career, despite a surprising amount of competition.
Jesus loves my pussy best. So watch what you say or I'll split your banana.
Like, no, I don't want you to split by banana, Madonna. But enough about me, let's ask her what she thinks about this.
Go fuck yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You heard me, bitch.
Okay then.
Say your fucking names.
Boring. badly mixed tech house remix of a classic, tries to go hard but instead goes bland. Vocals are piercing and shit, lyrics are toxic, but the beat is still pretty good, and I did not want to put 2 jerk variants on the list.
Waking up next to you.
Boring, boring, boring. Why are we giving dubs and country EDM validation in 2023? Kinda speaks for itself, really. Too memey to be on the main list, but if I didn't make the Black Eyed Peas mashup, it easily could have snuck on. Honestly, forgot how this existed a little. How does this sound again? Actually, no, this should really be on the list. Like, just pretend it's number 5 or something.
My lovely Lady Lum, my lovely Lady Lum, in the back and in the front, my loving got you.
So here we are, the number 1 spot. In a less die year, maybe I could save this for something that just sounds like trash. Nothing more, nothing less. But there was one song this year that was actively problematic. It's not the worst sounding. With all the baggage surrounding it, its placement here was pretty much unavoidable. If you've been following the charts, you absolutely know what's coming. And if you don't, well, there's content warnings here for a reason. Here we go. Let's cut to the chase. This song is popular because of its association with the blackpill community. If you don't know what that is, obviously you've never heard of this song before, and I'm so sorry that another innocent soul has been lost. The blackpill community is an ever-growing group of men who have it set in their minds that women control the world, and use it as an excuse to endorse, encourage, and often advocate for suicide and mass violence committed towards women. The movement has explicitly led to several real-world murders. This song has lyrics like this. See why you can't really separate this from the context now? And even if you did, what are you supposed to get out of this? If I'm being very, very generous, I could say maybe you're meant to just ignore the lyrics and focus on the vibe, but no. These lyrics aren't the sort of things you write for the vibe, instead displaying a legitimately concerning depiction of a highly abusive relationship. No sugarcoating, that's completely what it's about. Also, say what you want about the crap that Odari has been shoveling out, but I can at least understand how you can turn your brain off to good loyal thoughts. Whilst here there's almost nothing to latch onto from an instrumental level here. It's not fast or distorted or punchy or atmospheric enough to have much of a distinctive sound. There's no real instrumental melodies aside from that cheap music box style synth in the background, so you're more or less held hostage to the lyrics because that's the only memorable bit of it. Also, I only just found out that Suicidal-Idol didn't even make this beat, instead buying it off a random beatmaker with less than 3,000 subscribers, a feature which is completely left out of most YouTube uploads. If anything, that makes these lyrics even more irredeemable, because now Suicidal-Idol either actively chose the beat to fit these harmful incel-bait lyrics, or Suicidal-Idol put a lot of thought into crafting the exact sort of lyrics that would fit this instrumental. Both ways inexcusable, but now you can't even defend this song on an instrumental level. Not only is this a creepy, sloppy mess with lyrics that have become anthemic to some of the worst corners of the modern internet, but it also displays yet another artist shamelessly stealing from a smaller creator, which admittedly isn't the main issue here, but I feel like no one has acknowledged it, and I at least want to contribute something else to the discussion surrounding this song that someone else won't be able to handle in far more detail and far more respectfully than me. Just a abysmal song. And this hit the bubbling under. This wasn't some weird relic from deepest corners of the internet like a lot of the creepy shit that kind of shows up on these charts. People actually wanted this, and that is only more alarming. God-awful song, sorry to end on a bit of a depressing note, but how could I not put this at number 1? Ecstasy by Suicidal-Idol, the worst US dance hit of 2023. We have a tonal shifting coming, but thanks for watching. Hopefully this video was decently enjoyable, although I'm assuming I do still have a bit of work to do on a script writing process, so yeah, feel free to give me some feedback on that. If you would like to see more of this content, make sure to tell me in the comments, because I would actually be interested in pursuing more videos in this sort of lane. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, hope you found my picks reasonable, and yeah, bye.